Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. So are we bailing?
It's bailing time, Jeff.
Bailing time.
I've started bailing before you. You got bailing to catch up to do.
You got the pink one?
Pinkin. So whenever your son is, at what age are you going to tell your son about any religion, or are you at all?
Oh God, I have no idea. I'm gonna tell him about religion. I just am not going to push religion on him.
Right. So like my grandma keeps forcing or trying to force me to bring my daughter to her church, and her church is dead. Like it's dead. Like it is the deadest of churches. It's not just dead. It's the deadest. It's the deadest church. We got the deadest church. Let me tell you, folks. But like the youngest, the youngest people there. Well, there's actually these like two kids from they're like a foster family or whatever. But other than those two kids whose parents are in their 70s, their adopted parents, the youngest people that go there are 60. Like there is no one at this church, and so like I've tried to explain to my grandma because like we've taken my daughter to other churches in the area because like there's we always go to the this Halloween thing at this one church. It's always really good, and so we've gone before to this church, and because they seem like they have tons of kids, I thought it would be like a good community or whatever. But I've told my daughter about other like many religions. It's not just Christianity. It's like there's all these religions. People believe different things. Once you get older, that's whenever you'll be old enough to kind of weigh out what everyone thinks and then decide. Because right now you're too young, and if you get told that this is the right thing, then you may someday think that this is not the right thing. And so that's what she knows. But my grandma said the other day, whenever she was trying to push her church, she was like, she's like, you only need to be telling her, because I told her, she's like, she needs to know about God, and I'm like, she knows about God, she knows God, she has people, some people believe in God, and she's like, well, she needs to be surrounded by God, and I was like, I don't know that she does. I mean, she can be whenever she's older if that's what she wants to do, and she's like, well, everyone thinks that kids should have God, and I was like, everyone? And she's like,
yeah, everyone's. When you take those standardized tests that I've taken many of in my life, for like, licensure, EMT, nursing, etc. It's more about how you take the test than it is about knowing the answer to pass a lot of those things. And I always tell you at the beginning of a multiple choice question, you can usually throw out two obviously wrong answers. Some of the keys that you look for are words like always, everyone, and never.
Right. And I was like, what do you mean everyone? And she's like, well, everyone believes in God. And I'm like, not everyone believes in any God, and the people that do believe in a higher power, there are definitely a lot of wars and a lot of things that happen in this world to say that everyone believes in the same thing. She's like, well, everyone that's right. And I was like, oh,
wow,
okay.
So, religion it's almost like the Republican versus Democrat. It's literally pushing the viewpoint that you believe on other people.
Like, if my daughter grows up and she says she's a Scientologist, I'll respect that. I'll tell her she's an idiot, but I'll respect that. I think that's the only religion that I would say, God, you're an idiot.
I don't know if I would respect that if my son...
Okay, I guess respect is the wrong word. I would accept that.
Okay. That's... I possibly could... Well... I might not even be able to accept it if he gets in so deep to the point where he's like needing to give like all of his money to the church or something.
Right.
Like that.
I mean, as long as it's not my money. I mean, again, that's where the whole "you're an idiot" comes into play. But I mean, I feel like you have to give your children leeway to ruin their own lives.
Sure, but you also want to try to point them in a direction that's not going to be ruining their own lives.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's kind of funny because saying that I would try to intervene if he was giving all of his money to like the Church of Scientology or something like that. But I've known so many of my friends and all who do such dumb things with their money anyway, such as try to invest it all in like real estate when they know nothing about real estate because they went to a seminar on how to make money in real estate and it dropped 20 grand on buying into that company that the seminar they just went to or whatever. That's
right.
Just as stupid.
Right. There's tons of ways you can fuck up your life. And I feel like once your child's at that point where they have money to give, you've already done everything you can to give them the direction. You know what I mean? You're not. They're no longer being raised by you if they have money of their own to be giving to an organization like that.
Right. I guess that is a question for your daughter. When do you expect her to understand the difference of money that you give her versus her money?
I mean, I think that basically once they have a job, like I know someone that's in college right now, and they sent me a message the other day.
Yeah, you don't have to talk about me anymore, dude. Right here.
Okay, a person that is young in college, he's 18, and sent me a message the other day that said that they were going to get an apartment, and I said, "Oh, you got a job?" And he said, "No." And then he sent me a spreadsheet about how the cost of on-school living wasn't much different, and so I guess he had actually done the work. But my initial
on-campus versus off-campus living type of deal. Okay.
But my initial reaction was, man, you're expecting a lot of your parents just to pay for this. But I guess in his case, he did do the research. But I guess a lot of kids don't have that opportunity either of their parents paying for their living, regardless of if it's on campus or off campus. Once they get to that age, I know I certainly didn't. When I was 17, I was expected, or I didn't have much of a choice other than to move out on my own. So I certainly didn't have that opportunity.
I guess when I joined my fraternity house, I was a junior when I was in fraternity house, and it cost more to live in the fraternity house than it would have to live in the dorms. But a lot of that was like beer funding. Like it really was. Like there was a expenses that come throughout the semester that get tallied to all the brothers, and one of them was down in our bar, was called Spikes. You would, when you got beer, you'd get a tally next to your name of beers, and when you brought friends, they were tallied up next to your name. And when it came time at the end of the year, they literally had how much money the fraternity house had spent on beer, like kegs of beer, and they split it amongst the tallies on the board. So, it would add up over a semester time. But at that point, I never, living in the fraternity house, asked my parents for my room and board money. I always just paid it off on my own because I knew, in my opinion, it wasn't part of the college, so I knew I was doing it on my own type of deal.
Right. Like, I feel like regardless of how much money I have saved or whatever for my daughter for higher education, I'm going to expect her to have a job.
During college?
Yeah.
See, it's kind of funny because my parents were the exact opposite. I was allowed to start college with a job if I really wanted one. And if my grades slipped, they wouldn't pay for college anymore unless I quit my job.
Okay, now that's fair.
Yeah, it was, and it was a, hey, if you can do it, go for it. But if it's affecting your schooling, you take that decision at that point that we won't pay for your college anymore, or you can quit the job and focus on schooling. And I never had to quit my job. I will say that I never had to quit my job.
Like, I think that's important too. That you learn how to balance those type of things. I mean, it probably has helped you to now still go to school and work.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely taught me a lot about time management in my life. And one of the things that I've always learned, I remember getting in a huge fight one Thanksgiving with my sister because I don't know what her problem was this Thanksgiving. She must have been going through like a rough time. But I went to school in one place. She went to school in another place. I was only 20 minutes down the road from my parents. So for Thanksgiving, and yes, I lived off, on campus. They made you live on campus your freshman year. Which was kind of interesting, even though I was like a local student technically. But then I was like in the fraternity house after that. Like at this point I was in the fraternity house, so I was living on campus. But I remember it was the Wednesday of Thanksgiving break. I had gotten up and gone to my 8 o'clock class, or I skipped my 8 o'clock class because I was drinking the night before, and you didn't really have to go to class on the Wednesday before unless you had a test because most people had already gone on vacation. I went to my 3 o'clock class that afternoon, and I got there like 10 minutes early, and I went in the classroom, and I sat down, and like 2 people walked in the door, and it was about 2 minutes before the class started, and I was like, you know what, fuck this, and I just got up and left. And I went to my parents' house for Thanksgiving, and my sister was there and in town, and she said something about, she was in a really bad mood already, and I don't remember why, but they were like, "Oh, so how were your classes today?" And I said, "I didn't go to them." They were like, "What do you mean you didn't go to them?" I said, "I didn't go to my 8 o'clock. I didn't, I slept in because we were partying last night." I was like, "But the professor had already said that there was nothing important that we would miss because so many people were already not going to be there." I said, then I went to my 3 o'clock, but I decided I really didn't need to be there either because only 2 people were there right before the class started, so I just left. And my sister looked at me and she's like, what is wrong with you? I said, it's all about time management. And she goes, how is that about time management? You're not doing. It's very important to understand that time management, and I said this to her verbatim. I was like, time management is not just about learning how to get everything done that you have on your plate. It's also about learning what actually doesn't need to get done, because that is part of time management. And she's like, she goes, you are the most inconsiderate son in the world. The way you're talking right now, I don't think you belong to this family. Like, she said that straight up. And my mom like looked at her like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, I remember I was like, I was in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now. And I said, I appreciate your feedback. And I put my fork and knife down and I said, I'm going to be going back to college now. I will see you guys later. And I walked out of the house. My mom was like begging me not to leave. And I was like, no, it's fine. She obviously doesn't want me here right now. So I'm going to go back to college. It's only 20 minutes away from me. And I left.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
But the point was about time management. And I do still agree with that to this day. Everybody thinks that you have to get every little thing done, and that's really not what it's about. There are things you can just not get done and be okay.
Yeah.
One of the classes I taught, the only class I taught, I guess, but one of the assignments in that class was a paper. It was only a 3-page paper. It was a small paper, but it was structured in a way that if you did all the other assignments, if you didn't do the paper, you could still get a 4-point in the class.
That's cool.
I had some students not turn in the paper, and I respected that. Hey, if you decided that the paper is not what you want to do, and even if it's not that you're going to get a 4-point, but you're going to get a grade you're satisfied with by not turning in this assignment, hey, that's your prerogative.
Yeah, I was always like that with homework. And it wasn't like I was doing anything important at home that allowed me to not do the homework, but I knew that my grades otherwise were high enough to carry me still to an A or B in the class without doing the homework. But then, like, I don't know, something happened in Texas where they made a big deal about the fact I wasn't turning in homework in half my classes half the time. And so my mom got called down to the school, and I had this principal that just hated me. His name was Coach Maniscalco. I'll never forget this motherfucker.
His name was Coach. Principal's name is Coach.
Well, he was the assistant principal, but I guess like they still divided up where not everyone had everyone's not assigned to the principal, so like even the assistant principal's taking on half the load or something. Yeah, he was a coach. You think he'd be teaching like history or something,
football.
Well, no, every fucking school I've ever been to, one of my teachers was always a coach. Like, economics was taught to me by Coach something. I can't remember his name, but it was fucking Coach something.
But I assume you took a sport in which this person was your coach, right?
No, he coached basketball or something.
So I definitely, there was the same way in my high school, but if he wasn't your coach, you never called the teacher coach unless it was your coach. Huh.
No, same thing with my economics teacher. He was coach. Like, I don't remember his name. He wasn't as important or as damaging.
Coach isn't a title you earn. You have that title because you're the coach. You don't like get a degree in coaching, and then because you get a it's not like doctor. You know, you earn coach.
No,
so.
I guess that he was coach before he was principal or teacher or anything else.
Go to work tomorrow and be like, guys, from now on, you call me coach.
I mean, I've known of. Well, I guess I haven't known. I've seen in comedies where captains want to be called
like
captain.
The TV show Coach?
No, I was gonna say like ship captains. They want to be called captain all the time. Just call me captain.
But they've earned that though. That is.
Well, he earned being a coach.
No, you didn't earn being a coach. You got hired as a coach. Whether you have any skill. Dad coached some of the stuff in like my elementary school. Is he now coach?
You can call him that if you like. He probably would prefer Dad though. Anyways,
he would actually probably prefer Sir.
Really?
He told me that once. He was he was mad at me for something, like when I was really young, and I was being disrespectful as like little kids do. And I don't remember. I don't know if I called him man or something like that. And he was like, "You will refer to me as father or sir." And I remember going like, I was thinking in my mind, I was like, "Can I call you dad?" And he's like, "That's fine too." But like that wasn't one of the initial options that he gave me in this.
God, I would have been the little asshole that said, "All right, father, sir," or "Sir, father."
Sir, father. No, I think at this point I was like scared. When my dad got angry, like you didn't want to mess around with that.
Yeah, I got beat as a kid. Like,
well, I did not. I did not. It was not like that. It was my dad. So it was one of those things that when he did, you knew you fucked up.
Right.
Type of deal. So you instantly went from I'm an asshole mode to oh shit mode.
This wasn't by my dad, at least. My dad, I don't think my dad has ever spanked me or hit me in any way, actually. But no, I eventually got a point with my stepdad, though, that I just became like just a total asshole. I didn't care anymore because I was gonna get beat either way. So it didn't really matter, I guess. Anyways, you derailed my Coach Miniscalco story here.
Coach Miniscalco.
Miniscalco.
Coach Sacramuche. What the fuck you say that guy's name?
So Mom got called down to the school and brought me into his office. It's like, Jace hasn't been turning in his homework in any of his classes. So we're gonna give you the option, Jason. From now on, if you don't turn in your homework in a class, you're gonna get either one lick of corporal punishment or 1 day of Saturday school, and you get to choose. And,
wait, did you guys have corporal punishment?
Oh yeah, I've always had corporal punishment in every school I went to. No, yeah, I've had the shit beat out of me at school. And then the thing was too at home, the stepdad Kevin, he had this fraternity board that if I ever got corporal punishment at school, I got the same amount at home from his fraternity board. So yeah, that was the thing he always beat me with, was his fucking fraternity board. Anyways, so I had agreed to go with the Saturday school, and he's like, "Okay, since you picked Saturday school, corporal punishment it is."
Oh yeah, one of those guys.
Yep, he's a fucking asshole. And so the funny thing was, I left that class and I went directly back to my class, and there was homework due, and the whole thing was like starting today. So like I remember running back to that class and like just putting shit on paper that didn't even have anything to do with just how I turned a piece of paper in. I don't remember the point of this story, but
so well, it had to do with time management and not doing.
Oh, right, yeah. So then I learned.
So what?
To always
go ahead.
I just always did my homework after that. In that class or in that school while I went to school there.
What was the corporal punishment?
It was a paddle. They had a wooden paddle, and
who gets to give it?
The principal or assistant principal, whoever your punishment giver is.
Can you imagine having a job where you're like, "Yep, I got to paddle like 5 students today"?
And it's not. I mean, again, this was always in Texas. Well, no, I take that back. I remember in first grade, I had this woman. She was a hateful witch of a woman. That was my first grade or kindergarten. I don't remember which it was. First grade or kindergarten, one or the other. And there was the classrooms were joined by this little closet in between the two different classrooms. And if you did something wrong, she took you into the little closet and spanked you with a paddle.
I can't even imagine. I didn't think that stuff existed in our childhoods.
And this was in North Carolina. It was at Wingate, North Carolina, where the witch of a woman lived and worked. But yeah, no, I think every school I ever been to there was corporal punishment. I remember there was a this wasn't in Wingate. This was somewhere else here in North Carolina, though. I think it was Fayetteville. We had these stoplights on the wall in the lunchroom, and like if the whole it was like sound sensitive, and so as the lunchroom would get louder as people were talking and stuff, it would go from green to yellow, and then if it went to red, everyone in the lunchroom had to shut up and not speak until it went back down to green again. And so there was this one lunch where it went to red, and someone across from me was doing something funny, and I laughed, and so I got sent to the principal's office and had to get 2 licks or whatever. And that was a woman that did it then, woman principal. But yeah, no, I don't. I've lost track of the number of times I got corporal punishment at school.
I just, like I said, didn't know it existed in our childhoods, but I guess different states, like Michigan, definitely it was not a lot when I was in school.
Really?
I think it had been outlawed probably for like at least 10 to 15 years.
I didn't know that. I thought that this was something that had recently happened in the last few years. I thought that everyone my age had grown up like that.
Were you expecting your daughter to get corporal punishment?
Me? No. I knew now that it wasn't a thing. I mean, I would be outraged. Like, we don't spank, you know, so I wouldn't want some fucking stranger spanking her, right? I mean, that's what's so weird to me now as a parent is, like, I remember growing up and being spanked and you know, as I got older, beat. And I didn't ever learn anything from that. Like, I never took anything away from that. Like, there eventually became a point where if I got the option between being grounded or beat, I would always pick, just go ahead and beat me and get it over with.
Yeah, and that's why I'm kind of surprised that that you said you wanted to take the Saturday school instead of the corporal punishment. Like, you said one lick, right?
Yeah. I think that was earlier, too. That was before things had gotten as bad as they were at home. Where anytime something happened at school, like, it was 10 times worse at home. But that same fucking Coach Maniscalco, I've told this story before, but I don't know if I've told it to you. There was one day, I had been playing down at the river, and I had this boot knife, and I left the boot knife in my coat, like, inside coat pocket, and I did not fucking realize it until I got to school. And so got to school, realized I had this stupid boot knife in my coat pocket, so I immediately put it in my school bag, like put it in the outside pocket of my school bag. And, oh, no, stop that game, stop that right now, no, go back down. Oh, fuck, what have I done?
Yeah, hit the abort button.
What is that abort button?
I don't know, look at
X.
the little...
Okay, yeah, I had to turn on the thing. And so I immediately put my little knife in my school bag, and the English class I had, it was this weird half class where you would go to the class for a period of time, and then halfway through it you would go to lunch, and then you would come back. You know what's weird? You can't put the fucking grip thing up now that I've started unloading. I've just ruined everything. This is dumb.
You know you're gonna have to come and drop it off. I don't know why. It seems to be messed up.
I guess I'll abort this unloading and then back it in. But this stupid English teacher, she went, I guess she went through everyone's school bags every day at lunch. It's the only thing I can figure. She was just this nosy little bitch. I got a list of fucking teachers, if I could ever get a hold of them now, that I would just let them know what terrible human beings they are. Not just like a bad teacher, just like, you really should never have been a teacher, and this is how much you've affected my childhood, and I remember you for being a total fucking bitch. But she went through my school bag and found this fucking knife. And so I remember coming back from lunch and checking my bag, make sure it was still there, and it wasn't. It was gone. And so the rest of the day, I'm like, all right, what the fuck happened to this knife? And, you know, should I be concerned? What has happened? And then later the day, I was in art and get a call from Coach Maniscalco to come down to the principal's office. So I come down, and he's got the little knife on his desk, and he's like, so you brought the knife to school? And I'm like, yep. And I tell him the complete and utter truth. I was like, brought the knife to school, realized I had it, realized I left it in my coat pocket, put it in my bag so I could bring it home. And he's like, nope, last week you had an argument with Timmy or Jimmy, I can't remember which one it fucking was now, and we know you were gonna stab him.
They know you, Guude. They just know.
And I was like, this is absolutely not the case. And I told him again everything. And
you were going to do some stabbing. I believe him. Guude's the stabber.
So I got suspended from school for 2 days, I think it was. Which is, compared to, you know, today's school climate, I would have been expelled forever. So I guess it's, you know, those things, I guess that's another example of how things have changed. Back then, you bring a knife to school, you still get to go to school in a couple of days. Now I bring a knife to school, never get to go to school again. But they could beat you.
I remember my buddy had a knife once. I don't know why he had a knife. He was just one of those guys. I think he just thought he was cool for carrying it. And somebody was actually getting in. Somebody was starting some shit with them to get in a fight. And in one class, he gave me the knife, and he was like, "I need you to take this so I'm not tempted to use it if this thing actually does come to a fight." I was like, "Okay," and I took it, and like I kept it for the rest of the day because he was, you know, worried about this fight happening outside of school or whatever. So I took it home. Somehow my parents found out that I had this, and they took it from me, and I kept getting mad at them because they wouldn't let me bring it back to school to give it to my buddy. And I didn't understand why, because like you said, back then it wasn't that big of a deal. It was, oh, if you're caught with, if they catch you with it, which is going to be highly unlikely that they're going to catch you with it, because I'm only there just giving it to somebody, then all they're going to do is get mad at me, and I'll be back to school like the next day or whatever. But yeah, that could have turned out terrible.
Packrat, I've told Packrat this story before. He's like, I always carried a knife at school. It was always in my belt loop. So, like,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Did he? I don't know where he went to school.
I don't know either.
No idea.
Fucking Alaska.
It could have been Alaska. Maybe it's Canadian.
I feel like Alaska, it's okay, right? They're like, oh yeah, bring a knife, whatever. It's cold.
You could always be like oh my God, what is the education director lady's name?
Betsy DeVos.
Yeah, when she was saying something about, how she thinks it's okay for teachers to bring guns to school to protect themselves from bears.
Was she talking about hairy gay men?
Maybe. She might have been talking about it, but yeah, it was a very, very odd thing to say. Sure, teachers should be able to bring guns to school. They just have to protect themselves from a bear.
Is everything
that seems like the most likely scenario. Is that what?
Is everything planted and ready to go, actually? Because if so, we could speed
up. No, I got to check the one field because apparently a plow was sitting on the side too close to the guy. So I had to...
So a couple of days ago, I was at the grocery store with my daughter. And
it just finished, actually.
Okay, so I'll speed her up. We're going down the chips aisle, and guy's got a gun on his hip. Just regular person, somebody with a permit to carry, I assume. Like, he definitely was not a police officer, or I don't know if he was a police officer. He looked like he felt straight out of the fucking 80s, basically.
Well, so he might have been a police officer.
He did not look very clean either. Like, I don't know, he looked like your typical, very much redneck. He could have been a police officer. It definitely wasn't a police issue gun that he was carrying around in the grocery store. And my daughter came up and she's like, "That guy scared me. Why does he have a gun?" And I'm like, "I don't know. He's probably afraid of things that he really shouldn't be afraid of." I didn't want us to tell her. Like, I don't think there's a reason to carry around guns in the grocery store.
But that's people's right to bear arms, man.
Yeah. That's such a weird thing, since it's supposed to be all about being able to rise up against the government, which you cannot do at all anymore.
Again, that comes back to the, customers paid for their participation. It really does. It's just because the intent was to say it one way. If it was written a different way, that could be interpreted a different way. You can't really argue against it now, can you?
No.
I can't deal with interpretation bias in this.
I mean, the thing is with her, too, is she hasn't been taught anything about guns. So to me, she had an innocent reaction without any external stimuli.
Right.
And what I took from that was it didn't make her feel any safer.
That's probably definitely true because she's never seen them before, too. And she doesn't think that somebody's using it to protect you. What she knows about guns is that people use them for bad things. So that's what's advertised in the news.
Well, we don't watch the news, though. Like, I don't think she's ever seen a news broadcast in her life. I don't even own a TV anymore.
Nah, you're just sheltering your daughter.
I guess I am. Kids don't like to watch the news. The thing I remember about the news at her age is, oh my God, this is the boring thing my dad is watching. Please make the boring thing stop.
That is true. That is what I used to think too. See, I was raised with guns though. I mean, I actually shoot .22 and shoot shotguns and things like that when I was quite young. But a lot of the reason I was raised with guns is my dad loves guns. He's also a police officer.
Well, my dad was a police officer too, and so I had the same experience. Like, I was taught how to shoot guns and stuff whenever I was very young.
Yeah, and he always had his police issue SIG, his 9mm was somewhere that I could access it if I wanted to, and he taught us from a very early age how guns are handled. When is it, acceptable? Oh shit! I did the same thing you did. I hit the fucking button.
Well, ruined your day. Well, so I was taught all the same thing. Have I told you the story about this before? Where I had all that same knowledge. I knew that it was wrong to mess with my dad's guns, etc. And then
still did?
Yeah. Whenever my dad was in the hospital, I was spending the night with my cousins, and we we were staying in their treehouse. They had this treehouse that wasn't really a treehouse. It wasn't in a tree, but it was up on these stilts, and it had everything like central heat and air, like refrigerator. It was a house on stilts, really. Not that this is relevant to the story, but it's just a really nice treehouse. And I just had to mention that. And it's just right. It's through the woods from here. Like I looked out on my porch now. I could see where it used to sit up on its stilts. And so we hear something outside. We keep hearing this thing outside. The thing that we hear outside, eventually we find out, later, days later, was just their dog was like sleeping against the treehouse, and like its tail was kept hitting the treehouse, but it was fucking with us. And there was this intercom system like between the treehouse.
It was fucking with us.
There was this intercom system between the treehouse and their house too, and we'd called their dad several times, and he did not care. Side story. You could look from the treehouse down, like, past their pool into their house, and you could see what the dad was watching on TV, and it was always porn at night when we would stay in the treehouse.
So they subscribed to Showtime.
Yes, they definitely did. I remember the first time I ever played Larry the Leisure Guy or whatever.
Leisure's at Larry.
Yeah, it was like we snuck in their house. We were supposed to be in the treehouse, and we snuck in their house in the middle of the night and fired up the computer and played their dad's Leisure Suit Larry. But so anyways, I snuck.
Only you knew about Control X back then.
What did that do?
It's the original Leisure Suit Larry. You had to answer those 5 questions or whatever to prove you were 21 years old. Control X apparently just bypasses it.
Really? Because they had like worked it out before then, so they knew the answers. So we already had they already had the answers like ready or whatever. They had done the work. So I got to experience the game, which wasn't really that great. But
I disagree. I think it was great, but for a completely different reason. It was at the beginning of the adventure game.
Yeah, sure. No, I was expecting to be sex ed was about to happen.
Oh yeah, you don't even see anything except I think in 1 or 2 scenes there's pixelated boobies.
Right.
In that first
and we didn't make it that far either, so we never even got to that point. But anyways, I stuck up here to the house and I got my dad's gun. It was his previous police issue gun, so it was at this point they were all using Glocks, but he still had his old revolver as well. So I think it was a 45. So anyways, I got his revolver and brought it down there so that we'd be safe. And the weird thing was, one of their friends had gotten lost in the woods the night before, and apparently he had passed by their house at some point, in that morning before he found the road, and the road he found was out in front of their house. So about the same time I was walking back from the woods, there was this person walking through the woods that I could have just murdered. But yeah, we spent the night with this gun, and I wouldn't let them hold it because I felt like I had the knowledge of what my dad had told me about gun safety and stuff. But I still shouldn't have went and gotten this gun. I was only 11 years old, 12 years old. So all the lessons and all the things that my dad told me, still I did the wrong thing.
Well, yeah, you did the wrong thing. However, based on that story, he still taught you a great deal of good information because you knew a gun was for protection and had it just for that purpose and didn't use it, and also felt responsible as if you had to be the person to hold it because you had that knowledge. So even though, yeah, you did the complete wrong thing and your dad would be mortified if he knew that you took his gun for that, for that purpose, the side part of the story is you didn't take the gun because you were curious about guns, because had he not taught you about guns and you took the gun, you probably would have gone and shoot it. Possibly killed somebody on accident.
Yeah,
because you'd be curious on how the hell does this thing work? It's a gun. I feel powerful. My daddy carries one of these. Bang.
Right. Okay. I guess there is that side of the story. Still shouldn't have been. I guess he still should have kept the guns locked up. I guess is the long story short of that.
Yeah, and you know what? My dad didn't keep his guns. His guns were literally sitting on our kitchen counter.
Oh man, you could never have gotten carpet installed.
Oh no, we definitely could not have gotten carpet installed. People would be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, we had multiple guns in easy access. His police gun was always sitting on the counter when he was home, not when because he was always there when he was home, but he might have been upstairs in his room taking a nap or something because he worked nights, so he slept a lot during the day. And his gun was downstairs where it theoretically was accessible. But I also knew where our locked gun cabinet was downstairs. I knew where the key was to get to the extra guns, but these were 22s and hunting guns because my dad's a big hunter. And I knew where there was a loaded 22 at the ready right in our kitchen behind this big decoration in the corner. So you couldn't see it, but it was there. It was more for animals. We lived in the country. So we'd get like raccoons and stuff that would get up on the deck and like attack the dogs and the cats and stuff sometimes. So it was literally there for protection. But I knew exactly where it was at and how to shoot it in case I needed to, which I did have to shoot it before at some animals that were out there. But I would never let my son at that age that I was at deal with guns.
Right. Yeah, I don't, because, yeah, I remember whenever he...
I think it's a whole different time, too, though. Like,
well, yeah, keep getting corporal punishment at school.
I mean, hold on. I think guns are so much more... They were stuff back then, but they're so much more problematic now than they were.
And that's the thing.
Then.
Why is that? What has changed?
I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe it's just my perceptions because of the fact that I'm older and understand the world now, whereas I didn't back then when I was younger. Or
I feel like that's the case.
It could be. It very well could be. It could just be my ill-conceived perceptions. But I do also think there's so much more gun violence now than there was. That it's a whole different connotation of.
I wonder if that is the case. It probably is. There probably is more gun violence now than there was whenever we were kids. There's definitely more gun violence in places like schools and stuff, which is weird. What changed that allowed that to happen?
Well, what changed that made 12-year-olds start having sex at a much higher rate than did when we were kids?
They do? Yes. I didn't know that. I thought that underage pregnancy had gone way down in the last 10 years.
Oh, it might have, but I think that's because people are actually understanding to use protection and the safety and stuff of that. I think people are still losing their virginity and having sex at earlier ages. Last studies I looked at on this, and by studies I mean like news articles with statistics. I don't mean I actually went and seeked out studies on this, but I maybe that's changed as well. It's been a couple of years since I looked at things like that, but
I didn't know about this. But maybe, you know what? That might be just the internet.
Could be.
Because there's a lot more readily available information on how all this stuff works to younger people now.
Right. Well, I mean, but look at things like, just to show how much things have changed. When I was young, I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons because it was a terrible TV show that taught kids these terrible things because Bart was such a troublemaker.
Every time you told me this blows my mind. It really does.
Oh, and now it's the #1 family show. Yeah. I mean, it might not be #1 anymore, but for a long time it was very family TV show.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, things like South Park, there's no way could have existed.
Beavis and Butthead existed, though.
That's true. That is true. Beavis and Butthead did exist.
I mean, they got a lot of flack. They were, just kind of like Marilyn Manson did.
They were revolutionary.
But really, they were.
Yeah, I mean, they were. I guess Beavis and Butthead is like. Beavis and Butthead was terrible. Like, it was. Especially the beginning. I didn't watch it because I wasn't allowed to watch it until later when it was really, really popular. And I think it had gotten, just like a lot of shows get better when they're, when they have an audience and they build characters around. I don't understand how the first episode of Beavis and Butthead would have gotten people to go, this show is great.
What was the first one?
I have no idea, but I just can't imagine what it was that people thought it was going to be something that was good to continue on.
I always loved it, but that was just me. I mean, I remember it being like when the first time I saw it, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. I love everything about this. But now I bought it when they came out on DVD, and I've gone back and watched them, and I'm like,
you're like, well, what the hell?
Yeah, this is what the fuck?
Dude, it's like Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy was always terrifying to me, actually. Have you ever seen the ones that are meant for adults?
Weren't they all theoretically?
No. I mean, you would have thought that, right? I mean, but if you look at SpongeBob takes a lot of notes from Ren and Stimpy, it feels like. Like, I don't know. Every time my daughter, I see that she's going to watch, like, when she goes to my grandma's still has cable and stuff. And, which, my grandma, like, she keeps telling me I need to let my daughter go up there by herself. But then, like, the other day we went up there, this right before we went to the eclipse, and she's watching, like, some kind of cops show. And it's like, it was like all happening in South.
Was it called Cops?
It wasn't Cops. It was a Cops ripoff. But it was like happening in South.
Policemen.
Yeah, but yeah, basically, it was all happening in South Carolina. My grandma kept going on about, "Oh, you're going to South Carolina. Look at all these bad people in South Carolina. I can't believe you're going to South Carolina." And I'm like, there are bad people everywhere, and this is dramatized. Like, and then but she kept watching it too, and I was like, "Can you cut this off?" Like, there was some hooker getting arrested, and I'm like, "Could you please cut this off?" And she's like, "Well, I guess I don't know what is age appropriate." I'm like, "Well, certainly not whores."
Wait, are these guys really stuck right now? You pieces of shit.
What? I guess I started this guy too soon.
Yeah, but look how it's like 6 inches of clearance, and somehow these people don't know to turn.
Right. Well, let me by. Let me by.
Maybe they were worried about that happening.
I feel like they could have worked it out.
Yeah, I think the AI in this needs to be a little bit better.
This game is not great. For it to be such a for it to have so many iterations, it is not that great.
It's only enjoyable to play because we're just dicking around and talking during it. I cannot imagine playing this solo.
No. Or not all. You know what? Honestly, the more I've played it, like I know it exists on like handhelds, and I think I might enjoy it on a handheld. It's something like on the plane, killing time. I could probably play it, but yeah, I would not be firing up my computer every day to play this game if it wasn't for this series.
Be like, gotta go plow the fields. Jebediah, actually go plow the fields. No, Dad.
Yeah.
Plowing them in Farming Simulator. I don't want to plow the real fields.
That's the weird thing.
I don't know why.
Honestly, today, whenever I linked you that thread on Reddit about Merkel playing Farming Simulator at Gamescom, I kept reading the thread trying to find if anyone could explain to me why this game is so popular in Germany. I thought they were going to like drop some wisdom on me or something, but it never happened.
Apparently the Arabs can.
Oh, God.
I only say that not to really be... He linked me this thread about Merkel playing the Gamescom, and I clicked on the Reddit link, and the very first comment on it is, "We have closed comments to this thread due to the numerous complaints," or God, what the hell does it say? It was so, I was so confused.
It was like the multiple Arab comments.
This thread has been locked in response to overwhelming number of hateful comments made about Arabs, and I was like, wait, what?
I can't imagine what happened in that thread.
I don't even want to read this thread because...
Well, and you know that those comments have been moderated too, so you can't even go in there and like figure out what happened. Like, that stuff's gone.
Oh my God. That was it made no sense. It blew my mind. I'm like, wait, somebody was playing Farming Simulator, some political figure playing Farming Simulator, right, and somehow it turned into what?
Yeah, it is very bizarre.
But yeah.
Well, I guess it's okay because we're not German, so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, we should stop here though.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
See you guys.
See ya.